This is Gerardo Del Real here with Resource Stock Digest. Joining me today is the chairman and CEO, my largest personal holding, Hannan Metals. I'm speaking with none other than Mr. Michael Hudson. Mike, how are you today?
I'm great, thank you. On a great day for Hannan.
Listen, a phenomenal day for Hannon. A couple of things stood out from this news release, and I'll read the headline in a bit. But let me tell you something that took me back to the Mawson, now Southern Cross Gold consolidated days. I remember early on when you were on the ground at Sunday Creek, you mentioning Fosterville many, many times, right? And the analogs there, and you took a little bit of you got a little bit of pushback from some of the people in the business that maybe should be minding their minds instead of minding Twitter or X, right? And that eventually has played out with one of the most significant high grade gold discoveries in recent times at Sunday Creek. So I have to tell you, as a shareholder, a substantial shareholder, somebody that has been following the story and supporting the story for quite some time, it was really, really satisfying to start hearing you talk about Cripple Creek like systems when you put out a release like this. And let me read it. You sampled 69.1 meters at 2.4 grams per ton gold. That included 26 meters of 5.4 grams per ton gold, and the type of system is critical. And so I want you to explain that a bit. This, of course, at the monster Previsto Central in Peru. Sir, congrats. I'm a happy shareholder. Clearly, we were up over 30% today, closed near a buck. I think that's headed much higher. Give me the context on the release. You got to be thrilled.
They were great results, and you get that chill in your spine when you see those assay results coming in from the lab, and then you're trying to work out where they've come from, and the widths and the location and the context, and it's an amazing discovery. Early days, it's a couple of channels, but its context is critical, right? So, number one, that you mentioned the results. You don't trench high grade like gold like this very often. It's one of the first times I've seen it exactly like this, and it was in rocks that were not, or they were quite cryptic at surface to see. They had moss and they were in a creek, and the guys didn't really think that they were as prospective as they were. But we were following up a point 0.4 grab sample that ran 7 grams. So we were just doing a bit more sampling around where we'd seen some grade before. And of course, then we sampled that 69 meters at 2.4, which included that 26 at 5.4. A silver credit there up to an ounce in that higher grade area, 27 grams, and also a lot of tellurium in this system, which is diagnostic of these systems. But the context is that it's part of a 4 by 4 kilometer soil anomaly that exceeds zero point 0.1 grams, and so the footprint of what this could be is extremely high grade. We're also just along strike, 1.3 kilometers along strike, where we've been trenching a porphyry, very different part of the system. We trenched up to 192 meters there of leached copper at 0.16% over a very big footprint there in itself. So this is a porphyry transitioning to an epithermal system, and the scale is large. Now we've got these economic grades at surface, and the style you asked about, this is what we're calling an alkalic gold style. So they're hosted in rocks that are quartz poor, basically. So it's a specific type of host rock, and then we're getting a lot of geochemical signature that is typical of these systems, like a lot of vanadium. It's in a mineral called roscolite, a vanadium-rich mineral, vanadium-rich mica. We're seeing a lot of tellurium, amongst other things. And these analogs of these alkalic type low sulfidation epithermal systems are like Cripple Creek and Porgera, amongst others, and they can form very large systems. We know we've got alkalic porphyries out there that we've been sampling, so the gold, copper-rich porphyry. So it's not so strange to know that we're in these type of rocks, but to see this gold system emerge by itself is extremely encouraging, and its context even more so.
You mentioned a 4 kilometer by 4 kilometer golden soil anomaly greater than zero point 0.1 grams per ton gold. And I always pride myself on being a simple guy, right? I say I'm a simple guy with some simple ideas that sometimes work out. But if I start doing the math of the gold at surface at zero point 0.1 grams per ton gold, it, how common is that? That just seems, well, let's put it this way. It seems like a heck of a head start, and I don't want to put a number out there because people are going to think there goes Gerardo getting too excited again. But the potential here for millions and millions and millions of ounces of gold is as obvious as I've ever seen it.
Well, the system is large, Gerardo. That's one thing that we can see and see clearly. It's early days, but when you find this amount of gold early on, there's a very good chance that we haven't found the one and only or the best parts of this system. There's lots of evidence for mineralization across a huge area. And that's really our challenge now, is to try and unravel this. And of course, we're in a very good position because about 20 kilometers to the southwest, we've got the Belen area that has the two porphyries in the epithermal target at Ricardo Herrera, Vista Alegre, and Sortalecchio. That will be drilling, subject to final steps of the permitting. We achieved our main drill permit there only just recently. So we'll be drilling that Belen area as we're unraveling this amazingly large discovery in Previsto and taking it towards drill permitting. So it won't be a quick exercise to get into drill this discovery, because we haven't started permitting for drilling because it's such a new discovery. So we've got to work out where the best parts of the system are, start collecting all the environmental data, and ideally sometime next year we'll be ready to drill it and have permits to drill it. But we'll be working on the 8-kilometer long system at Balen, and with 40 drill platforms there, we'll be very busy drilling and unraveling the monster which is Previsto.
One last question on Previsto, and then I do want to make sure that we highlight Sortilegio and Vista Alegre and Ricardo Herrera, because I think each one of those, as you described in the last release, are potential company makers in their own right, taking nothing away from those projects that will see drilling here in the next several months. But the question that I have, and I asked it when I was on site, I asked, so do you think we have more copper, or do you think we have more gold? And I know what the likely answer is. It's probably too early to tell, but it seems like we have a whole heck of a lot of both, and that's probably a real good problem to have, right?
Exactly. It's early days, but there's a lot of gold in this system, and it's certainly not just a copper porphyry system. It's a gold system and an epithermal alkalic gold system, and then that's transitioning down to these copper gold porphyries. So certainly gold occurs in two different environments, and that's the most encouraging thing, really, in so many respects. Gold is a much easier sell than copper in isolation.
Have you ever seen at this earliest stage a system quite like this, with this kind of scale and these kind of grades at surface?
No.
How long have you been doing this, Mike?
Long enough. 30 plus years. Now this is one of those very special projects. I want to stress the early stage nature, so the context is there, but you don't sample very high grades over such large lengths with the context of such a large footprint very often in your career.
Phenomenal work. The market's clearly starting to understand. I'm looking forward to a fun 2025. Thanks again for your time, Mike.
Thanks, Gerardo.
Hey everybody, Gerardo Del Real here. If you're enjoying the content that you just saw, you can let us know in 3 simple steps. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and please share across your network and on social media. Take care, everybody.